Living alone, especially as you grow older, is often portrayed as a peaceful and empowering experience. You get to do what you want, when you want, without any interruptions or obligations to others. While this is true to some extent, there's another side to the story that doesn't get talked about as often. Things you won't hear until you're living it yourself. I've gathered wisdom from countless platforms and forums, and I want to share what most people are saying. This isn't just my experience, but a collective one from those who've walked this path before. And it's not all bad, it's just real. So, let's talk about the parts of living alone as an older person that people don't tell you, and how you can make the most of it. Number 1. You have to be your own emergency backup. One of the biggest surprises about living alone in your later years is realizing that you are your own safety net. There's no one around to notice if something goes wrong. I've read stories of people who fell and weren't found for hours or even days because they didn't have anyone checking on them regularly. One Redditor shared how they had to start carrying their phone everywhere, even in the shower. Just in case. While this might sound a little extreme, it's a good idea to think ahead about your safety. You might consider wearing a smartwatch or medical alert system, especially if you live in a more remote area or don't have close neighbors. It's one of those precautions that gives peace of mind and lets you continue living alone confidently. For example, I remember one comment from a woman on an online forum who installed an emergency key lockbox outside her house. This way, if something ever happens, trusted friends or family can get in without breaking a window. 2. Loneliness can be a real struggle, even for introverts. Most people think living alone is a dream for introverts, and for the most part it is. But even the most solitary people can face bouts of loneliness, especially when they're older. Many people on forums say that their social circles have shrunk over the years. Friends have moved away, retired, or passed on, and meeting new people can feel more challenging. One elderly gentleman shared in a forum how he'd go days without having a single conversation with anyone. He loved his independence, but missed the casual interactions of having someone around, a partner or a roommate, to chat with about the little things like the weather or what's for dinner. For others, the solution has been adopting a pet. Pets give you a sense of companionship, routine, and responsibility. As one woman said on a forum, "My cat might not talk, but he's always there when I come home, and that makes all the difference." 3. Keeping up with home maintenance can be overwhelming. One thing that gets more difficult with age and that nobody really talks about is keeping up with housework. As we get older, our energy levels change. Tasks like cleaning gutters, mowing the lawn, or even just vacuuming can feel more exhausting. I've read several stories of older people who let certain chores slide simply because they no longer had the stamina or desire to do them. One woman shared how she'd keep a list of home projects that needed to be done, but ended up putting most of them off. It wasn't that she didn't care about her home, it was just too overwhelming to tackle everything alone. If you're in this position, don't hesitate to get help. You might hire someone for the heavy lifting chores or ask family and friends to pitch in occasionally. And if your budget allows, consider downsizing. A smaller living space means less maintenance and fewer things to worry about, giving you more time to enjoy the things that matter. 4. Your daily routine becomes sacred, and that's okay. One thing that stood out in many personal stories is how much daily routines mean when you live alone. When you don't have a partner or housemate to share responsibilities or spontaneous plans, your routine becomes your stability. Whether it's the morning coffee on the porch, your afternoon walks, or your favorite TV show in the evening, these habits keep you grounded. A woman in her 70s shared how she starts her mornings by playing the same song while making breakfast, just to fill the quiet house with some energy. Another man explained how he looked forward to watering his garden every evening. He said it wasn't just about the plants, but the sense of purpose and structure it gave his day. There's beauty in that. Don't let anyone make you feel like having a rigid routine is a bad thing. It's these small, everyday moments that make living alone special. These are your rituals, and they give you control over your life. 5. Cooking for one can be tricky, but rewarding. Cooking for yourself can be one of those unexpectedly tricky things when you're older and living alone. You don't need to prepare big meals, and sometimes it feels like too much effort to make a full dish just for yourself. I've read countless stories of people defaulting to frozen meals or takeout because it's easier. But as one woman commented on forum, learning to love cooking for yourself can change your perspective entirely. It becomes less about the labor and more about the care you're putting into yourself. Try batch cooking on weekends or making meals that you can eat over a few days. Some have found joy in experimenting with new recipes, treating it as a hobby rather than a chore. You might find that preparing food for yourself becomes a little act of self-care, one of those things that remind you that you're worth the effort. Plus, it's a healthier and more budget-friendly option in the long run. 6. The quiet can be both a blessing and a curse. Silence is something people don't expect to hit them as hard as it does when they start living alone, especially if they're used to a bustling household or a full-time job. The house can feel too quiet, especially in the evenings. Some people thrive in that peace, but for others, it's unsettling. One older woman shared that she started leaving the radio on in the background while doing her chores just to fill the air with some noise. Another man said he listens to podcasts throughout the day to feel like someone is talking to him. Whether it's music, audiobooks, or the TV, finding ways to break the silence can make a huge difference. On the flip side, the quiet can be a real gift, especially if you've spent your whole life surrounded by people. It's a space to think, reflect, and recharge. 7. You need to be intentional about physical activity. Living alone, especially as you grow older, can mean fewer reasons to get up and move. Without a partner or housemate encouraging you to go for a walk or participate in shared activities, it's easy to fall into a sedentary lifestyle. Many people on forums have confessed that, after living alone for some time, they noticed their physical fitness declining. One man shared how he slowly stopped taking daily walks and found himself sitting more. "I didn't realize how much less active I was until my body started to stiffen up." Staying physically active requires more intention when you're the only one motivating yourself. A good way to maintain your health is to incorporate physical activity into your routine, no matter how small. Whether it's setting a daily step goal, doing some light stretching in the mornings, or joining a local fitness class for older adults, these little efforts can have a big impact on your well-being. One woman I read about decided to get a dog purely for this reason. The dog needs to walk, so she gets moving too. Physical activity doesn't have to mean going to the gym. It can be gardening, dancing around your living room, or taking the stairs instead of the elevator. Keeping your body in motion not only helps you physically, but also lifts your mood and clears your mind. 8. Your sense of time may shift in unexpected ways. Another thing people don't often talk about is how living alone can change your relationship with time. Without the rhythms of another person in the house, you may lose track of the day, the week, or even the month. Several people online have mentioned that time either stretches out too long or slips away unnoticed. A man commented in a forum that after his retirement and the passing of his spouse, he had days where he wasn't sure what day it was or even what time. This happens because you no longer have external cues, like a partner's work schedule or children's activities, to structure your day. The good news is, you have the power to create your own rhythm. Some people find that sticking to a loose schedule helps. For example, you could designate certain days for specific tasks, grocery shopping on Mondays, house cleaning on Thursdays, and so on. Others find it helpful to engage in hobbies that make them look forward to specific times of day or week, like attending a weekly class, gardening in the afternoons, or cooking special Sunday dinners. It's important to keep track of time, but also allow yourself to enjoy its flow. Living alone gives you the chance to structure your days around what works for you, and that's a gift. 9. Decluttering becomes both easier and harder. When you live alone, the task of decluttering takes on a new significance. On one hand, there's no one around to argue over which items to keep or toss, which can make the process smoother. On the other hand, everything in your home becomes a reflection of your life. Every photo, every book, every piece of furniture holds memories, and letting go of them can feel more personal. I remember reading a comment from an older woman who had lived alone for years. She shared how she found herself keeping things because of their sentimental value, even though she knew she didn't need them. She said, "It's just me, so who does it hurt to hold on to these things? But then I think, do I really want to leave all this for someone else to sort through?" Many people in online communities emphasize the emotional difficulty of decluttering when you live alone. Objects take on a deeper meaning, and parting with them feels like closing chapters of your life. But there's also freedom in simplifying. A man in his late 60s shared how he decided to downsize his belongings to make life simpler for himself and his family. He said it gave him peace of mind, knowing that his home felt more manageable. Decluttering when you're older and alone isn't about minimalism for the sake of it. It's about making your space a reflection of who you are now, not who you were in the past. It's okay to keep the things that bring you joy, but letting go of what no longer serves you can be liberating. Start small, tackle one area at a time, and allow yourself to feel the emotions that come with it. After all, this is your space, and you have the power to shape it as you wish. 10. Social invitations might decrease, but you have to create your own fun. One surprising thing about living alone as you get older is how social invitations start to dwindle. It's not that people stop caring about you, but as friends and family move into different stages of life, busy with their families, careers, or even moving away, you might find yourself less involved in group activities. A few people in forums expressed how they noticed they weren't invited to gatherings as much anymore, and it can feel a bit isolating. One woman shared in a thread, "I used to wait for my phone to ring, but now I've learned I need to be proactive." This is such valuable advice. Instead of waiting for others to invite you, create your own social life. It could be as simple as inviting a friend for coffee, organizing a book club, or hosting a movie night in your living room. The best part? When you host or organize the fun, you get to shape it around what you enjoy. One man in his 60s mentioned starting a neighborhood walking group where every Sunday a small group would meet and explore different local trails. It kept him connected and active, all while doing something he loved. Living alone means you have the freedom to design your social life, so take charge of it. If you like crafting, invite people over for a DIY night. If you love a certain TV show, plan a weekly watch party. Be the one who reaches out, and you'll find that others will follow. 11. It's easy to neglect self-care, but it's more important than ever. When you live alone, there's no one to notice when you've been wearing the same clothes for 3 days, or when you haven't bothered to cook a proper meal. It becomes easy to fall into a routine of not taking care of yourself. Many people on forums admit that living alone sometimes leads to a sense of, who am I doing this for? But here's the thing, you're doing it for you. One man shared how, after years of living alone, realized he was letting small things slide, skipping meals, not showering regularly, and spending too much time on the couch. He said, I had to remind myself that I deserve the same care and attention I would give to someone else. Self-care isn't just about grooming or eating well. It's about your mental health too. Whether it's keeping up with medical appointments, getting enough sleep, or simply doing things that make you feel good, self-care is crucial when you're on your own. One woman shared her routine of lighting candles in the evening, putting on a face mask, and reading a book. It's a small ritual, but it's something she does just for herself, to feel nurtured. Make self-care a priority, even when there's no one around to notice. Get dressed in the morning, even if you're not going anywhere. Cook meals that you enjoy, and pamper yourself in whatever ways make you feel uplifted. After all, you're living alone, but you still deserve the best care, and only you can give it to yourself. Living alone as an older person has its challenges, but it can also be deeply fulfilling. You have the freedom to create the life you want, and that's something precious. But just remember, it's okay to ask for help, to prepare for the unexpected, and to lean on others when needed. You've made it this far, and there's still so much to look forward to. Surround yourself with what makes you happy, whether that's a beloved pet, a garden, or your favorite book. And when the hard days come, remember that you're not truly alone. There's a whole community of people just like you, finding their way through it too. Feel free to share your own thoughts and experiences in the comments. And if you enjoy this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to not miss any of our future videos. Thank you for watching.